And to see my mom, at the time, I looked at her as like, "You're weak." Like that's how I looked at her as a weak woman. So it made me angry. I was always not good enough, but I see you bending over backwards. I would need a ride to school, and I couldn't get one. But you will willingly cook him breakfast. So I began to resent her.
Hey everyone, it's Jordan. Welcome you to another edition of USA Lately Radio, the show that explores the lives and stories of some of the most successful and influential personalities of our time. From best-selling authors to renowned business leaders, we invite you to discover the unique perspectives and insights of the most accomplished individuals in their fields. And hey, make sure to visit our website, usalately.com, or you can email me directly at radio@usalately.com. USA Lately is usalately.com. That's usalately.com. And on the line today, we have Precious Watkins, the author of the book Complicated Tears. And the book is available on your favorite resellers such as Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Target, and Walmart. And let me say this, Precious was brought to us by one of the most trusted book publishers in the world, New Touch Books. And listen, if you want your book published, publish it with New Touch Books. And you can visit them at nuthatchbooks.com. And I must say, her book is a must read. I read it myself. Like, I got deep into some of the chapters there and definitely was compelling got me wanting to know more what was going to happen next. And then at the end, I was like, oh man, I think there's still more to this. And talking to her prior to this interview, there's something that we're going to share with you at the end. That's something to come after this. So yeah, if you're looking for something that's inspiring, basically that there is hope, after challenging times, definitely this is a book that you have to read. So without further ado, let's jump right in and let's welcome Precious. Hey Precious, how are you doing?
Hi, Jordan. I am fine. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, I'm grateful to have you here too. And it's so cool to always read a book and then or that person in that book comes to life. And now you're talking to them live, right? So
Yes.
I don't know if anybody or even you, Precious, like you've ever read like stories of autobiographies or biographies. Is that something that you're into?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
My favorite book, which when I was writing my memoir, I thought about A Child Called It by David Pelzer. He's my favorite author. I remember reading that book when I was a child, and when I was writing my book, I wanted to make sure I poured all my emotions into it the same way I remember feeling when I read David Pelzer's book. That's forever my favorite book, because as a child, when I read it, it's like, wow, I can understand. I felt the emotions, and I wanted to implement the same thing in telling my story.
Can you repeat that again? What's the name of the book? It's
A Child Called It.
A Child Called It. Okay, wow.
Yes.
Why do you feel like that book really resonated with you in terms of your like what happened with you in your life?
Because he had issues with his mom. His mother was abusive to him. I didn't have that, but I was misunderstood deeply by my mother. And I feel the same thing was for him. He was a good child, just wanted his mother's love and affection and her attention, and he couldn't get it no matter what he did. And I felt the same way. Like, I couldn't get it no matter what I did. I was never doing it right. I never did enough. It was never given. And so I felt those emotions. I'm not sure if it's because of what I was going through at the time that I related to him so much when telling his story that I felt it deeply. But I remember feeling when I read his book. And I wanted to make sure that when I told my story that they didn't just read it, they were able to feel it.
Yeah, because that's huge. I mean, definitely when I was reading through your book, I was like, there was times where it's like, oh man, she's just longing for that time, that attention from somebody who she really loves and will do anything, even act in a different
Yes.
way or act out as, a lot of parents are, oh, my child's acting out. Why is he acting out? Like I have two kids myself. 12 and 5, and you see them acting out sometimes, but I could see why like they might do that. And it really hit me when I was reading through your book, and those times where you're going through high school, and you said, you know what, I'm just gonna keep doing whatever, so I could, this is how she's gonna react, and whatever, I'm gonna keep going the opposite way, right? And I feel like even with me, with my kids, sometimes I see like if I'm being working too hard or whatever, they'll sometimes act out just so that they can get my attention because they see that's the only
Correct.
way, right? Maybe that's something you could talk about, where as society as a whole, where like kids, especially youth, would you say that that's a big issue right now where
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because parents, we're so quick to label our kids like they're bad, they're mischievous, they're busy, they're disrespectful. But sometimes you have to take a scale back and how am I parenting? How am I affecting my child? I am a mother. I have one child, and instead of, because I know what he needs just based off I know what I didn't receive. So when I see him doing something different, when I see him acting out, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. What do you want to do for fun? I had a stressful week, and I'm pretty sure you have been affected slightly by it. I'm not sure how much, but let's just go out and have a fun day. It's Wednesday. Let's just go out and have fun. Let's just unwind together. Like, and it's just really taking those steps back and paying attention to your child opposed to labeling them and making them pay for how you feel. And I also, when I'm talking to my son, I say, look, Damari, if I say you're annoying, you're getting on my nerve, just walk away. Like, just walk away. Just the reason why is because I said, because when you do something, let's say you threw that bottle and you threw the same bottle yesterday. Depending on what space I was in, it probably didn't bother me. But because I'm already frustrated, you throwing that bottle just agitated me even more. So
Mm,
whenever I do that and I said, Mara, you're annoying, you're this, I am projecting my emotions off on you. So whenever I'm in a bad mood, just give me some space. And that's what he do. Like, okay, I'll come back. So that way it helps him. I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect parent. I don't believe there is such thing as a perfect parent, perfect person, perfect anything. There's
mhm,
nothing that you can do to be perfect. So just communication will take you as far as you need to go. So me allowing him the time to understand me as a mom, like, hey, okay, my mom's in a bad mood right now. Let me just walk away. I'm gonna sit down and let her have her moment. And I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna unwind. And then I'm still gonna apologize because I do believe in kids being able to hear, oh, you know what, Mari, that was wrong with me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't receive that when I was little. My mom never apologized for anything she did. So it
really?
was just like, I'm the parent. You do what I say. I'm not wrong. You're wrong, and I'm always right.
Mm. You think that's a big problem right now? Like, I don't know. I mean, my belief is you become aware to what you're focused on. Yeah, like have you seen that in terms of like in society today where a lot of parents, they're just like more of an authoritative approach, or do you think there's a transition now like to where there's more conscious parenting, or I guess it depends on the neighborhood, maybe, I don't know, or where you grew up or kind of thing. Is that something like
I
uh
do
like
I do believe that we're more conscious in my generation because we know what we don't like. Of course, you still have some who will forever parent the way their parents did it because they strongly believe that that was the right way to do it. Not saying that is wrong. It's not my preferred way of doing it, but I do believe my generation we're the awakened generation. Like we're aware of and we're conscious, and this is what we're not gonna do.
okay, yeah, 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 no, that's good, because yeah, I remember your childhood here, and go to I know a big part of your story was your grandma, right? So
Correct.
that was a different role model for you in a sense where she gave you what seemed like you didn't get from your mom, and
Correct.
that's where you wanted to be there all the time. So maybe share that to people who didn't read your book. Maybe you could share that dynamic, probably provide some context,
Yes.
because I'm talking to you like I
It's
already know you
okay.
kind of
It's
thing, right?
okay. Um, so the relationship with my grandma, she understood me. Like I didn't have to beg for her attention. I didn't have to fight for it. I didn't have to work for it. There was no price or fee that came with having her attention and having her love. She just understood me and she accepted me for who I was, no matter how many times I didn't listen to her, no matter how many times I didn't pay her attention or hear her. she never stopped talking to me. She never stopped believing in me. She never stopped pouring into me. No matter how much I drained her cup throughout the process, she never, ever, ever gave up on me. She never called me crazy unless it was in a joking way and we were laughing, like, oh, girl, you crazy girl, something in that nature. But other than that, my grandma, she truly understood me and genuinely cared about me. And she poured into me and showed me light. Like no matter what, in my darkest days, when I did feel suicidal, as you read my book, she poured light into me and she told me that there was light at the end of a tunnel. My business name, Therapeutic View, she taught me how to see them for myself and create them. That you don't just see things in a therapeutic way when you all you see is dark. She taught me
Mm.
how to create my own thought. Your life is what you make it. Your vision is what you see. And don't let no one ever tell you that is not true.
Yeah, definitely when you're growing up, and if you're not getting that support, that constant unconditional love, especially from, let's say, a parent, I think that having that balance, having it come from somewhere else, can also make you into who you are today as well. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are listening that you might think that family is only your mom and your dad, or your brother, your sister, but there's also, yeah, your grandparents, or or your uncles, aunts, or even friends, people that are not living with you all the time, that could also, you can lean on to, that could allow you to move forward, right? Because I think finding that person in your life, maybe you're not you don't have to be dependent on, but you kind of, I think, lean towards more, that you can hear the good things, you kind of filter out. I think that's something that really helps. I mean, for me, I had to go to, like, my mom was always supportive and stuff like that, but my dad was very, like, negative. So I had to seek other men in my life that was supportive to me, and it was outside, and I didn't find them until I was like 17, right? So it took a while, but I could see why you lean towards your grandma a lot, because, and it was such a hard time for you when things with their health eventually.
Yes.
Maybe I'll go into that a little bit later, but so yeah, maybe you can kind of take me through, like, the time from, like, when you're a child, like, you're going through all that time there, and in the book where you were seeking that attention, and then after, maybe there was a point that you described in the book where you decided to, what, I'm just gonna do whatever, I don't care. Can you share that time where you just.
Yes. The point that you're referencing to is when I got to high school. So
Mhm.
I'm older now. I'm aware of what's going on. So I seen my mother being a woman to a man, that my grandma told me that you don't have to do those things for a man to love you and care about you, and he's not giving you what you need as a woman, and you're going above and beyond. And he did something that affected me when I was a child, and I'm not going to tell it because I don't want to spill the tea to the story for those who haven't read it yet. And I seen my mom growing up still being a great woman to this man and doing this and doing that. And then I was put behind him. And I'm like, that's interesting. My grandma told me that this isn't the way it's supposed to go. It doesn't go like that. A man who wants you, you will know it. You won't have to do anything. He's gonna love you, he's gonna care about you. And to see my mom, at the time I looked at her as like, you're weak. Like that's how I looked at her, as a weak woman. So it made me angry. And then I was always crazy. I was always not good enough. But I see you bending over backwards. I would need a ride to school, and I couldn't get one. But you will willingly cook him breakfast. So I began to resent her. And so I started acting out because the only way to get her attention was to do something that made her mad, or do something that didn't make her proud, or tampered with her ego because she couldn't brag about me. So that's what I would do. And I went through this phase, and then I snapped out of it when I realized that I was only hurting myself. My mom was still going to be and being who she wants to be.
Mhm.
So after that, I snapped out of it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing nothing but hurt myself. And after that, that's when I really started to change.
Didn't you have you had a near death experience there, right? So
Absolutely.
maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Yes. So when I was in high school, I was trying to fit in. It was me, my cousin, my son's father. He wasn't my son's father at the time, and some other people. We were playing a drinking game, and I kept losing. And so they thought I had just passed out and went to sleep. My mom came home, and I wasn't responsive. She had left out, went to her car, And she was like, that's not normal. Precious usually will say hi, peek her head up, and then she came back in, and I still wasn't responsive. I remember the next day I woke up, it was in the evening, maybe around 6, 7 p.m. And I woke up, and when I opened my eyes, the doctor stood over me and said I was grateful to be alive. I should be grateful to be alive because if my mom hadn't made it home, I wouldn't have made it through the night. So I realized at that moment the cost of trying to fit in could cost me my life. Like, and that's when I'm like, okay, I have to do something different. I have to, it's not worth it.
Mm. So would you say that was like the start of like the turning point where like was that a
No,
major turning? Not yet. No,
that wasn't
that wasn't.
that because I hadn't graduated high school yet. What was my major turning point was when I graduated late. I
Okay.
had to do 5 years by being a rebel, by being rebellious and trying to get play tit for tat with my mom, and it cost only me. I'm the only one who had to pay the price.
Mm.
So the drinking point was a turning point where I no longer wanted to fit in with
Okay.
anyone else. But the turning point was me graduating late. And I'm like, okay. And I returned my 5th year pregnant. So I'm like, okay, this is embarrassing. This is humiliating. I did it to myself, so I have no one to fault.
Mm.
Like I can't blame anyone. I can't say, well, you did this because so I graduated. I did it to myself. So that was the turning point for me.
And I remember at the time where in the book you mentioned about like your son. I think you were just overwhelmed where you went into your room and your son was crying for you, and maybe you could talk about that. Like that kind of struck me too, because I feel like every mother or parent will experience that point where not every, but a lot of them. Like
The
I
most.
my wife like break down and just overwhelmed and stressed about different things in life, and just needed to be away from everyone, and even myself, like there's been times where I just need to be away from everyone.
Yeah. So me and I had gotten into a brawl with my son's father. We were arguing via text, and my son he was in another room, and I didn't want to be bothered, so I just turned off all the lights and I went in my room and I closed the door. And he was afraid of the dark. I believe he was like 3 at the time, 2 or 3. I don't remember it precisely, but he was around that age. And he was crying like, "Mommy, I'm scared. Mommy, I'm scared. I'm scared." And I remember I didn't care. I truly didn't care at that time because I just needed to be by myself. And he stopped crying. And when he stopped crying, I'm like, oh man, what is he okay? I didn't understand like what had happened. So I got up, and when I got up to go check him out, and see what was going on, he was like balled up, like just so afraid, like terrified. And that was it. And when I picked him up, he still loves me unconditionally, like genuine love. Like he didn't care that I just left him crying in the dark. He didn't care about none of that. He was just happy I came out of my room and was there to save him and just hug him. And after that, I'm like, wow, I'm doing to him something similar of what was done to me. My mom wasn't emotionally available for me, and now I'm gonna go ahead and pass down that same trauma, that same generational curse, and that was my turning point. That did it because I felt so low as a parent. I remember questioning God, like, God, why did you bless me with this baby that I don't like, that I don't even appreciate? And I remember God coming to me and talking to me and was like, I blessed him with, I blessed you with this baby because you needed him to slow down. I had to place this speed bump into your life because you were going down the wrong direction. So this situation had to happen because you had the detour. So it was like so much self-conscious and awareness came to me in that moment of what I did. I didn't beat myself up about it. I learned from the situation.
Mm.
So whoever is listening, like if you've done something wrong as a parent that you beat yourself up about, please don't. Just take away from the situation and learn from it because that's what I did.
Hmm. A lot of times we experience forgiveness for others, but we have a hard time forgiving ourselves,
Yes.
and we want to put this guilt and shame and blame over ourselves, and then that doesn't allow us to move on or move
I
forward.
feel like that's a learned behavior though.
Hmm.
I feel like that's a learned behavior because I remember being little and like I couldn't speak about myself. I couldn't speak highly about myself. Like you're bragging, you're boasting, you're doing this. So when we do something wrong, we're so used to being punished for it. So we punish ourselves. So
Mm.
So if you can punish me, why is it wrong when I punish myself for doing something wrong? So I
Oh,
feel like that's a learned behavior.
that's huge. Thank you for that revelation
You're
there.
welcome.
Well, and it's a lesson to me too. I mean, like, if I'm disciplining my child, she'll think like, okay, how can I forgive myself, right?
Yeah, because it's not fair. Like, and that's why I just have conversation with my son when I'm disciplining him. I teach him what it is you did wrong and why it's not right, opposed to just coming down hard on him the way I was taught. Like that's how I was punished. Like came down on really hard for making a mistake. If you don't fully understand it, how do you make a mistake? Like we're adults, right? We make mistakes every day. Imagine someone coming down hard on you for something you didn't fully understand. But we put these high expectations on children to
Mm,
fully grasp a concept and understand it, and then we come down hard on them. So when you grow up and you come down hard on yourself, it's like, well, this is all I know. This is what I'm supposed to do because when I made a mistake, I was came down hard by my parents. So no one teaches us that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to mess up as long as you learn from it.
mm. Yeah, I've definitely made some big mistakes myself. That's definitely impacted a lot of people. However, I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I didn't
Right.
decide to, you know what, I'm gonna own up to it. Okay, I am 100% responsible. However, I still also need to learn from it, move forward, and not make the same mistake again, right? And I think
Correct.
at the end of the day, like, yes, I believe everybody, there's a plan, there's a purpose, there's a reason for everything. Just like you mentioned, how God allows things to happen in our lives so that for the betterment and for the fulfillment of our purpose ultimately, right? And at the same time, we also have to take responsibility and for everything that's happened as well, and then at the same time move forward. Yeah, we could do that, blame others, blame ourselves. Like, there's a difference between, I believe, taking 100% responsibility for everything, and then a difference of blaming ourselves, right? I think there's a different
It
vibration
is.
vibration and intention there.
Because blame is my fault. My fault. I did. I messed up. I shouldn't did. And then accountability is, you know what? I messed up. I made a mistake. Moving forward, this won't happen again. Like, but blaming's like just beating yourself up about it. Like, I shouldn't have never did it. I wish I would have did it different, or I wish this never happened. Instead of that, just learn from it. Like, hold yourself accountable. You know what? I messed up. It is what it is. It won't happen again. That's accountability
Mm,
opposed to blame.
yeah, that's a huge distinction, because people have to get that, and because they could be stuck on that level of blame, and then blame, if they don't blame themselves, they'll blame others. They'll say,
Yes.
then it'll transition to a victim mentality versus, somebody who takes a level of responsibility for
Yes.
whatever happens, right? Because if you take that level of responsibility, now there's no blaming anyone. It's just, hey, okay, I'm responsible.
Yeah, I'm responsible. I own it. And basically, it is what it is. It happened. It's over. It's done. Moving forward. How can I correct it? Moving.
Mhm.
Like, it's finding a solution to what you messed up to. Like, okay, won't happen again.
And from that comes gratitude, I believe, because
Yes.
just like you were saying, if and what I read through in your book, moving forward, like, and one of your chapters is everything happens for a reason, right?
Absolutely. That's chapter
So
8 of my book.
there
Everything
you go.
happens
So
for a reason and exactly the way it's supposed to happen.
yeah,
Like, it does.
because and it's just so funny. I mean, if we just like that quote that Steve Jobs says, you could only connect the dots looking backwards. Let's say we talk about like success or where you are, even where you are in life right now. Whoever's listening, you wouldn't be where you are right now if those what you call with stumbling blocks or what you call bad things didn't happen. So one thing I
Yes.
learned from one of my mentors is that when something what seems to be bad happens, we should celebrate, because that's usually, if you believe in God, God preparing you for the next stage of your life, right? And I think that, as I was reading through your book, like you had those stages where you're in the call
Yeah.
center, then you're in the bank, and
Yes.
maybe you could talk about that journey of like,
Yes.
your how your career progressed. That,
And
that,
I'm
that
gonna also,
I really relate to it because I've done sales, I've done telemarketing, so sales
yes,
has been my life. So
yes.
I, yeah, I really resonate with that. So yeah, maybe you could.
And I'm gonna touch base too before I go into that is how everything happens for a reason. And so I'm a Facebook user, and on my Facebook memories, it popped up like 12, 13 years ago. My life is a puzzle. My life is a puzzle. And my cover photo is me put together in puzzle pieces as a little girl, not knowing that one day I would be an author, not knowing that one day I would have a book with a cover photo and puzzle pieces. Again, I never aspired to be an author. I never seen this for myself. I didn't even believe in myself 13 years ago.
Mm.
Doesn't seem that long ago, but I didn't believe in who I am to be, who I am today. I would have never imagined that I would be Precious Watkins, the author, life coach, motivational speaker. I'd never seen that for myself. So to look back and my Facebook memories, and I see that, like, wow, my life, this was destined. Like, whether I knew it or not, like, I was destined to be in this space that I'm in right now, and I would have never seen it coming.
You sometimes, yeah, you're in a position right now where you thought, like, with the greater power can really know that. but
Correct.
but like you said, you had that belief about yourself that eventually you would become something that, greater than who you are today, like before in the past, right? So yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. Actually, I found the quote: you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. That's basically what Steve Jobs was
But
saying.
that is the truth, though.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like the dot, the backwards, that dot connected to now. Like, I would have never seen it had I not put that on Facebook at the time. My life is a puzzle, and now I have this cover photo. So looking back, my dot is connected to where I am right now. So it's just pretty cool.
Yeah, how everything connects, right? So
Yes,
yeah, maybe share that, how those dots that,
yes.
that you were like, with your journey here. Yeah, I'd love to share with the listeners here, like, yeah, how did your career progress to where you are now?
So, how my career progressed when I was in sales as a telemarketer. I needed the job because I was tired of working around other people's schedule. So, I wanted, though, the telemarketing job. I took it because it matched daycare hours, because I got tired of working night shift. When my mom or his father, his other grandma will complete their shift, then I go to work late at night. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So my friend introduced me to telemarketing, and I did that for like a year. And then the financial institution that I applied for, I was like, oh, okay. I bank with them. Let me go ahead and see what's to it. I had no intent on ever following up. And then I got a phone call the very next day. So I took the position. Then I went through so many channels. I left the company. Then I was called to come back. And then I was able to just progress. And then eventually I got a position where I was creating my own schedule and working from home. And then I'm like, okay, on my free time, my feelings are hurt. So I'm about to, you guys have to read. I can't tell you too much. So I'm like, okay, there's someone in the world praying and wishing that they had the flexibility that I have. I'm gonna also do something for me. And then I wrote my book. I took my life coaching courses, and also took my speaking program. And this is where I am today.
And would you say that each of those skills built up to, like, the point where,
Absolutely.
yeah, like with the telemarketing, the banking?
Yes, because I had to be comfortable with talking on the phone. I had to be comfortable in selling, and to sell, you have to be confident. And to be a coach, you have to be confident. To be a motivational speaker or whatever speaker that you are, you have to be confident. So I do believe that all the things that I did built up for who I am today. If I lack confidence, I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now without stuttering, without, hold on one second. Well, let me think about it. So yes, I do believe that all of those skills that I had to do, the journey that I had to take, was development for where I am now.
Because sometimes we question, we think like, oh, why am I in this job? What am I doing here? Like, there's times where it's like, I hate this job, right? Or I hate this business, or
But
whatever it
everything
is.
happens for a reason. Everything happened for a reason. Like, don't question it. Just, it's for you to find out why you're there. Like, instead of questioning it, just sit back, reflect, like, okay, why? And another thing when I'm coaching too, always remember the why underneath the why. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Why did I come? That will help you understand your why of being there. Well, when I applied, what was my goal when I applied to work here? What is the outcome that I'm looking for? Because sometimes we'll just get frustrated with the process and like, this is stupid. I shouldn't have ever done it. There we go, blaming opposed to holding up myself accountable. Like, okay, I'm here because I wanted to do XYZ. And so if you're unhappy, you work hard to get out of the situation, but also stay true to the purpose of why you started, why you went, why it's meaningful. Like, and I'm saying that too because my journey with writing my book, I so many times I want to give up. It was very challenging to write in your pain and remember it and reflect and sit with those emotions all over again. And it was also uncomfortable knowing that I'm about to put the story out there. But for me to get it done, I had to remember the why of why I started. Why is it meaningful for me? Why do this mean so much to me? Who will I let down if I don't continue and I don't finish? Who in the world is waiting for me to show up for them the way my grandma showed up for me? If my grandma didn't show up for me, what would my life look like? So there's someone in the world waiting for me to show up for them, and God blessed me with this anointing to be that person. God is just I'm just God's vessel.
Mhm.
And the prayer that you prayed over the call, I relate to it so much because I say it all the time. Like, God, thank you for allowing me to be your vessel. The message that I'm giving is it's really God speaking through me, and I'm just the vessel.
Those are some powerful questions. You asked because we sometimes are stuck in the monotony of doing things, and then we forget why we actually are doing them.
Yeah. So stay
Even
true to the why.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess maybe you could share like why do you do this and what's your main why?
Yes. My major why is because I want to show up for someone. If showing up for one person is showing up for a million people in my heart. So it's someone just knowing that there's someone out there that's struggling. There's someone out there knowing thinking that life won't be able to move. They won't be able to move past their situation. And that just means so much to me because I remember being in that space and I remember feeling stuck and I remember not having enough. I remember those times. So it's just super important and purposeful for me to be that person to someone what my grandma was to me.
That's huge. We don't realize it sometimes where we think, if we just impact one person, like, even for me, I'm a very visionary, big vision type of person. I think I have to, impact billions of lives, but that those billions
No,
of lives start with just one person.
one person, like one person, and then because you might not have to do it, but you help that one person, then that one person will be able to help another person, then that other person is going to help someone, and the light is just going to spread. Like, you don't have to physically do it. Like, so just helping that one person is helping a million people in my heart.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And another thing too is I think a lot of people are stopped by that because they want to have like this big breakout and or maybe I'm just thinking about that where there has to be an extravagant like show to like present yourself to the world. I guess it just starts with like seeing who you can serve, planting seeds along the way, right? And is that something that happened to you in your journey where it's like,
It
you,
is.
yeah,
I just because before my journey started, I was always told like, you should be a speaker, you should do this, and I'm like, no. At that time I wasn't confident, so I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not. Who am I to tell someone about their lives? Who am I to help these people? Who am I? So it started with just being confident, and then once I seen that I could impact one person, I knew that I would be able to impact another. I knew that this one person coming to share their light and spread it, and that's what happened. Now my one of my clients, she's now also writing a book, she's now also being a motivational speaker. So
wow.
it's just like, it's impact over money, impact over everything. Like, I'm all about impact and purpose.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I was just gonna ask you, like, do you have like a testimonial of somebody that you've that happened where, yeah, like, and you just shared it, like, now you have one of your clients. So
And
yeah,
she is also publishing her book through Nuthatch as well.
oh,
So
nice,
yes.
nice. Another
Yes.
plug for you there, Nutchatch.
Yes.
So that's awesome. That's really great. So yeah, thank you so much, Precious, for sharing that. And I know you mentioned a couple of these five questions earlier. It's number one, what is your favorite book? Who is your biggest literary influence? What do you wish your 20-year-old self to know? What's your favorite tool in writing your book? And what's your message to other aspiring authors?
My favorite book is A Child Called It by David Pelzer. And that's my favorite book because the emotion was, you felt it. You didn't just read it. I've read that book numerous times and it still stands as one of my favorites.
And so would that be your biggest literary influence?
Yes, and my grandma, because my grandma taught me how to move past things. She taught me how to turn pain into power. She taught me how to create therapeutic views. She taught me everything I know.
So what do you wish your 20-year-old self to know?
What I wish for my 20-year-old self to know, to just believe in yourself. Like, life is what you make it. And when we talked about blame and accountability, don't blame myself for things that I don't know. Like, if I don't know it, how can I blame myself for making a mistake if I never knew that this would happen and I never knew, I didn't understand what the outcome could possibly be. So I would just tell my 20-year-old self to just believe in yourself. There's light at the end of the tunnel and keep going no matter what.
And what's your favorite tool in writing your book?
My favorite tool in writing my book is listening to inspirational songs.
Mm.
Um, when I wrote Complicated Tears, I put my headphones in. I picked a quiet space every single night. Like, I wrote in my room. It had to be quiet, and I put my headphones in and I listened to a gospel song. I Told the Storm, and it's a song my grandma. Well, she didn't sing the song to me. For she would tell me, like, tell that storm to pass. You got to tell that storm to get out your way. So every night that I wrote, I listened to that song on repeat and channel myself back into my emotions and left everything on the page. So that's my favorite part of writing my book.
What's your message to other aspiring authors?
My message to other inspiring authors is remember your why. Remember why you started, because that's what's going to get you to the finish line. Because it is going to be tedious, it is going to be frustrating. There are times where you're going to want to give up, but remembering, staying true to your why and owning it, and that will take you to the finish line. Because discipline, that won't get you there. Motivation, that won't get you there. You won't always be motivated, you won't always have the discipline that you need, but if you stay true to the why of why you started, you will get to where you need to go
Mm.
and finish.
And yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, what would you say that this is not part of the five questions, but what would you say that would separate your book from any other book that could be similar, or like why would they want to read your book versus other books, kind of talking about their journey about similar topics?
I believe my book should be a strong consideration just based off, I know what gems I dropped in my book. I know how you will feel my book and you will be able to see yourself through. Like, I've been through trials and you'll be able to take away accountability. You'll be able to learn that, you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to walk the journey with me through my book. Um and just, it's overall purposeful because you'll be able to learn accountability. In my book, I made sure to, there's times where I'm like, I felt that my mom should have done something and she didn't. And I'm like, you know what? I'm grown. My mom owes me nothing. And I was able to hold myself accountable every step of the way to get me to the finish line. So accountability is the biggest takeaway that you'll have in my book if you lack being able to hold yourself accountable for things.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think that's one of the biggest things in society right now is holding, either whether it's an individual or communities or leaders in general, who say they're leaders but don't know how to hold themselves accountable, and they want to put the blame on others, right?
Yeah,
Point
deflect,
fingers.
deflect, 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 project, deflect, project. Like, no, like, hold yourself accountable. Like, my mom owed me nothing. Like, she didn't have to do it, but because I felt that she should. But, and so, no, that's not how they work. Hold myself accountable. Look, I'm an adult. I can get it done. Why am I dependent on my mom? Why am I dependent on this to go my way? What can I do to change and to change the narrative?
Mm.
Put myself in the control of my life.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. That's huge. I think that's a message for everyone here. Whether you're gonna be an aspiring author or not, like, whoever's listening to this, and you look at your life and I look at my life, and why I am where I am today is because of decisions and things that I've accepted and allowed for myself, and in this world. So I believe if you guys have a purpose that you have in your heart, a burning desire for something, you got to stand up and take charge, just like what Precious is talking about here. So definitely, I read the book. It's an awesome book. You guys definitely have to read it. If you want to learn how to turn pain into power, access or tap into that's within you, that part of you that can be accountable for anything and everything that's happened in your life and moving forward, I highly recommend, that you grab a copy of Complicated Tears from either Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, and Walmart. And yeah, just want to leave the last thing. If there was one thing you could share with the audience, if this was the only time that they were ever going to listen to you, or maybe not even read your book, or if they are going to read your book, whether or not, but let's just say this was the last time you had the chance to talk to them, what's something you want to say to them?
Something that I would say to them is trust your intuition, but don't mistake it for your insecurities. Because that gut feeling that you can't shake, like that, for example, if you know that you're destined to be something greater, trust it, but don't mistake it for an insecurity. So just go for it, live your life, and be happy with whatever decision you make, and be okay with the outcome, whether it goes your way or not. Be okay with it.
Mm. All right, well, some wise words from Precious Watkins here, life coach, public speaker, renowned author. And thank you so much for being on this podcast with USA Lately. And yeah, make sure you guys, again, check out her book, Complicated Tears. And also, if you want to become an author or you are an aspiring author, go to Nutach Books, NUTHATH books.com. And make sure to visit our website, usalately.com, for more inspiring and powerful radio interviews or podcasts with other inspiring authors or business people in this world. So thank you once again, Precious, for being on the show, and
You're welcome.
such a blessing. So thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.